think it's always tougher to say what's it like to people that you know, people that are on the staff, people that are colleagues of yours. But that's not going to stop me from asking Rob Hunter, what's it like to be a radio personality, well known, who openly acknowledges that he has a mental illness?
It's part of my story, and that's, just part of the journey that I've taken in life, not on purpose. It just happened that way. I've been diagnosed with depression, not once, Pat, but twice. But it's something I want to talk honestly and openly about because it is part of my story, and I hope that that in some ways is relatable to people.
When did you first know?
I struggled with it as a kid, but I didn't know what
like
it
how?
was.
What was it like when you were a kid and how young?
I would say as a teenager, I had, thoughts of wondering if I'd be better off not alive. It was that severe early on, but I just kind of brushed it aside and continued to still have some fun. But it was really when I got to college, when I first moved out of my house for the first time, that it started to really set in that there was a problem, that this isn't normal. This isn't, something that you just get over. So that's when I finally started to seek help, therapy.
Anybody else in your family?
Nobody else, at least, that's admitted it anyway.
But that's a very, very important part, that there are people that we work with on a regular basis, no matter how large or small the company is, that would shock you if they openly acknowledge the fact that they had problems from the neck up. It's called a mental illness. Yours is called depression. How does it manifest itself?
Well, for me, it started small and it just kind of got worse. So those thoughts of not wanting to be alive, those suicidal thoughts, would happen, I don't know, maybe once every month, then it was once every couple of weeks, then it was once a week, and then it got to the point where it was not quite constant, but it was constant enough that you'd think about it every day.
Have you ever been sad and on a level that you could compare sadness with depression for us?
Well, I think the difference is the sadness you kind of get over. Loss of a family member, something like that, a breakup with a girlfriend or a loved one or a wife or a husband or something like that. That you get sad about, but that eventually kind of dissipates as time goes on. The depression, that sadness, that feeling, that kind of same similar feeling just kind of lasts. And there are ways to avoid it, and there are ways to not deal with it, and there are still ways to have fun, but it's still there all the time.
You are among the 7 last people in the world because of your energy, your enthusiasm, your zest for life. Is that a put on?
I think so. I mean, but it's also knowing when you think things are so bad, I think if you change your perspective, everyday life, if you get to do something you enjoy, which I do, becomes that much better. It changes your perspective on everything.
All right, so how are you dealing with it now? Do you take medication?
No, I haven't been on medication since college. I think
Why?
I got to the age of, it didn't really work for me. I took 2 or 3 different kinds, and they were trying to figure out which side, so they regulated. They said, take this dose, and they added more to it, and then they took that away, added something else to it, and it just didn't work. It made me feel foggy and cloudy, and it didn't really help my brain. So that meant to me that it was more of a mental issue, more of a figure this out kind of thing, which took more therapy, more digging, more dealing with stuff that happened as I was a kid. Nothing major or traumatic or tragic or anything like that, just stuff that lingered there that I put away and just never channeled or never thought about.
What works for you? What kind of therapy?
Really good, strong, cut through the BS kind of work. I found a therapist actually here in Phoenix that was 2 of them actually that were really good at that. They were really good at I'd say these things and she would put them together for me and she would say, well, that's what that means or that's what this does and here's how you can control that. Here's what you can do. And the other therapist that I found he used the example of if you go to the mall at Christmas and you find that perfect parking spot and you're waiting for the person as they back out, but someone else comes in and steals the spot. You might get mad. Well, he said, I might not. I might go, whatever. There's another parking spot somewhere. We live in Arizona. Even in December, it's not that bad to walk. So he says, you can choose what you want to do in that situation and how you want to react. Now, it may take some work. Your initial reaction might be to get mad, but over time, you can deal with it to not get mad so you can just shrug your shoulders and move on. That type of exercise has helped me tremendously. So when I'd get to that point where I'd be like, man, this living thing is really not for me anymore, I'd say, wait a second. Back off. And, that's been working for me tremendously lately.
How often does that happen now?
It hasn't happened in quite a while, but I'll go back to probably even earlier this year. And it was still happening, not frequently, not every week, but it would still pop into my head. And through those combination of seeing those two therapists, I kind of realized what it was. So at this moment, not so bad.
How does your wife handle it?
She knew it. You know, I started dating her still during my first diagnosis of it. And so she's known it's been a part of my life the whole time. And she's helped me in a lot of ways too, to get mentally tougher, to not let little things break me down as much. So she's been awesome in that regard in helping me try to get towards like a normal life. So we're at the point though now, because we've been together for 14 years, that it's not as big of an issue as it used to be.
You know what would really be depressing? If I ended this entire conversation without telling them how they can get acquainted with you on the radio. And you didn't even ask me to do that. Yeah, it's Rob and Karie, 1 to 3, every weekday afternoon on KTAR. And this is Pat McMahon. You can find me every so often on KTAR.com.